Hey guys, I wanted to make this video on a problem that I had with getting hot water through my water lines. You know how you have to usually run the hot water for quite a while and just waste the water down the sink until the hot water gets there. Well, there's a couple options that I've done in a couple houses that I own. And one of them is to recirculate the hot water back through the cold water until the hot water hits the sink and then the pump shuts off. That's a pretty cool system. In this house, I've got two of those on each run of the length of the house, actually one in each bathroom, one in the master bath and one in the hall bath. And so when I come in the bathroom, I just flip the switch, and let me reverse and I'll show you kind of what's going on here. So master bath, two sinks, shower, toilet. So underneath the sink is actually where everything is. Let me turn on the light here. Move some stuff out of the way. Really prepared here, aren't I? Okay, so there's my pump. Which this equipment's about $450. And you've got to have an outlet you put underneath the sink because it's run by electric, which I added. And then I had to make these tees up because the tees that come with it may not work depending upon your application. This is actually an off-frame modular, so it's kind of piped like a mobile home. And so they come out the bottom, out of the floor instead of the sidewall. So no big deal. CPVC, pretty cheap, but the two silver pipes were actually part of that equipment that I bought, and so I used all that, just didn't use the tees that came with it, which I kind of wish I could buy them without it, but you can't. So pretty simple process. And then up here is the switch, which I mounted actually inside the cabinet. So I open the door and then I just push the switch, and you can probably hear it running. You see the light come on, the green light. So it's circulating. It's taking the hot water, pushing it back through the cold water until the sensor on the equipment picks up hot water, and then it shuts off. So then after that, I get in the shower and I've got hot water pretty quick. In the sink you have it right away, but the shower's got about a 6-foot run where it tees off to come to the sink, so I still have to run a little bit of water, but not, I don't have to drain the whole line and dump it down the drain, which I don't know why these aren't required on all houses now, because you can imagine every house dumping that much water down the drain just to get hot water circulated. It's insane. So I've got two of these actually set up in this house. Pretty simple process. These are a Taco, T-A-C-O brand. You can get them on Home Depot sells them. I think they're like $465. I actually bought this from a plumbing supply house. It was about the same price. But yeah, you want to get this brand. There's other ones on the market, but they don't work as well as this. And this is a on-demand where you push the button. And the other ones are circulators that circulate the water continuously, which means you're actually, yeah, circulating the water back to your hot water heater, but any pipes that are in the crawl space or, you know, in the attic or whatever are being reheated and then cooled when it shuts off. And so it's pretty intensive cost to keep that water hot. And it still only does it in this, so there's still a 6-foot line going to the shower even that doesn't even get circulated. So this I think is the best idea. So it's just on demand. So I'm going to show you another one. I'm going to walk out the garage, show you one I did out there, and then I'm going to actually take one out of the box and show you how to pipe it in and what I didn't use and did use. So let me log off here and then I'll edit the other one back in. Okay, so back with you. This is a 2.5 gallon water heater that I put underneath the sink and tied it to my slop sink and also to my vanity right behind there. So Now both those, I've got instant hot water, where before I had to wait for the water to come from the hot water heater over here, and then come through the lines, and then come through the wall. And so every time I wanted to use my slop sink just to wash up, I had to dump, I don't know, half a gallon of water down the drain. And so now this one, which is this brand here, and this one's hard to see, but I'm going to take you to my other house and show you that hookup. This one's a little hard to see behind here. And honestly, they're kind of a pain, but they're the best deal. They're only like $100. And what I've done now is I've actually turned my hot water heater off, and because we're not using the shower in there. And so I'm not using hot water for the wash. I just use cold water. I don't do that much wash out here. It's in the garage. So I've just turned my hot water heater off. And this thing actually does a real good job of, you know, keeping the temperature pretty decent. And you can adjust the temperature down there. So, like on this one, I've got just set hot enough that it gives me warm water, not hot water. So I don't have to add cold water and spend time adjusting it with the faucet. So I pretty much just open up the hot faucet, get some soap in my hands, and then bam, I'm already there with hot water. Feels good, and I'm done. Now the one I've got over my other house is actually underneath the kitchen sink, and that one I've got set pretty hot, not scalding hot, but you can even actually set it scalding hot because I've got a dishwasher there. So I'm going to take you over to the other house and edit this one back on there. So, all right, I'll see you in a minute. All right, guys, here we are in the other house, which is just like 300 yards from my other house. So, yeah, here I did the same thing with the Instant Hot. This one was the one I was talking about. It has a dishwasher. So, this one I actually ended up putting up here on the shelf, and then piped it in over here. And this one, I took the drawer out over here so that I could see everything, which is pretty cool. So there it is right there, and then the sink is to the right. So it just worked out to put it on that shelf. I didn't want to tie up all the space underneath the kitchen cabinet. Now there's a couple different ways to do this. You can actually run your cold water into the heater, and then also feed the cold water faucet with that same cold water, and you just eliminate the hot water feed off your hot water heater coming up to feed your faucet. So in this case, I'm eliminating, in this area, I left it alone, so I've got actually hot water coming from my heater, and I'm just feeding cold water into, no, actually I'm feeding hot water into the heater, and then out, and then back up to the faucet. So in this case, because I'm going to have quite a bit of water consumption because of my dishwasher, I've got hot water going through my heater, and then out of my heater, refeeding the faucet and my dishwasher, okay, and my ice maker, because you want to run hot water to your ice maker because it's cleaner. And so what happens, there's 2.5 gallons of heated water in here, which just initially, like to fill up the sink, is plenty. And so, yeah, you're pulling some water out of the hot water heater, but this way you're not running any water down the drain. And so you have a little bit of electrical, a little bit of a loss there on the electric because you're heating the water twice, but it's not that much, it's minimal. So I'm just into not wasting a bunch of water, because before long we're not going to have a lot of water to drink. And so that's why I say I think that honestly all the houses should have this. So let me get back to you in here and we'll edit this in. Okay, going to the other side of the house, I'm going to show you where I hooked up another sink over here. So this is in the hall bath sink. And this one, actually, what I've done is I've run cold water. I've actually capped off the hot water right here. So I've actually capped off the hot water. And right there I've got cold water going back to my faucet and cold water feeding the top of my hot water heater into my blue over there. And then coming out hot goes out to my faucet. And so in this case, I've actually only got hot water in this tank feeding this Vandy, which is fine because, you know, I mean, all you're doing is wash your hands, brush your teeth. So I basically got hot water here, instant. Through my bathtub, it'll come back through the hot water heater because that's hooked back up to the hot water heater like it normally was. But this faucet is not fed anymore with the hot water heater. Right there's your hot line. So I just capped it off and took everything off the cold. So I'm going to go back and show you what comes in the package. And I'll edit that back in. Actually, let me just walk over there and kind of lead you back in. Kind of cool to see what's happening anyways. Yeah, so this house I remodeled. And I've kind of turned it into a prayer house. And a place for believers to meet and have meetings. And also retreats. Okay, so here's the actual unit. Okay, and I'm gonna tell you some things that I've found. So, which, you know, basically I'd like to have a talk with them and tell them what works and what doesn't work. But so this T right here. Okay. Well, actually, let me just. This right here is your relief valve. This has to go on the cold water line, okay, which is fine. Yeah, and then your 1/2-inch adapter, which actually comes with this 1/2 inch to your faucet. Let me see now. Actually, where's my other one? Okay, hold on. So, what I did have to buy, really, the only thing I had to buy is this right here, which goes on top of my shutoff valve. So it gives me 2 ports, one to refeed my cold on the faucet and one that feeds the hot water heater. Now, one of these feeds, yeah. So this one, actually, this one here is going to go on the hot water and go right back to the hot water faucet. And so I end up using this one here, and then the extra one that was already on the hot water, which I'm going to eliminate now. This one on the hot water is my other connection. So in this case, all I have to do is just cap off that hot, get rid of that valve, and then add that T over here. And then all my flex connections actually will go back. Now I will tell you, and again, you need an electrical outlet, which I already had run before I did this because I knew I was going to do this. So now I will tell you this T right here that they send is pretty much worthless. Okay, worthless. The threads in here are straight, and so if you know, it would have been cool if this would have gone right here. Which actually wouldn't work in this case anyways, but you could have maybe used it somewhere else. You could have put it actually on top of here instead of that T when I take it back. So you could have put it up here. Instead of me buying that fitting, I could have just gone 1/2 inch, but then I would have had to buy new flex couplings, flexors. So really, I don't know why they even give you this. I just end up throwing it away. It's a waste, and I don't even save it because the threads in here, they're not even tapered, so you couldn't even thread it onto a pipe. It would leak. So what a waste. So yeah, so they give you a hanger, real quick, two bolts, and so I like to hang mine off the floor, and so pretty much all you're doing is hanging it, and this one actually goes right here. Oh, there's one other thing I need to tell you. This right here, which is pretty stupid, will not screw onto the top of this. Okay? Will not screw on the top of this because they got this red thing sticking out right here. And you can't get this down enough no matter what you try to do. And if you go buy another one, they're the same way. So again, kind of a design flaw. So what you got to do is you got to use a CPVC adapter. Actually, let me show you. I got some right here. Should have one more right here. Okay. So you got to use something like this. I'd get a new one. This one's an old one, but basically like this. So you put this on here, which does work. Goes onto a gasket, which I've hit. You know, you can't over tighten them. You can't under tighten them. So these have kind of caused a fit for me. What cool thing about it is you can take this off and readjust it. It's not a big deal. So then you put that with a male adapter on top of it, okay, and then this hose will actually connect to your pipe. See, and then you're good. So that's all you need to add is that one T, this adapter, and like a short, couple inch piece in between, and everything hooks up pretty good. This one here has actually leaked on me too because I didn't get it tight enough. So these are both kind of squirrely. They're both gasketed on the bottom like that, and that's a one-way valve too, by the way. That's why it's got to go on the cold. And then your relief valve, just like on a hot water heater, is right here, okay? Then they give you a piece of tubing to put in there. Now, if that blows off, obviously I don't want it running in my cabinet, which, chances are it's not going to blow off. But if it does, your cabinet would get all wet before you probably even found it. You'd probably find water running out of the cabinet. So what I do is I drill a 1/4 inch hole in my pipe up here and thread a 1/4 inch I thread 1/4 inch into it, and then I put a barbed 90 in there, which is actually right here. I put a barbed 90 in there, or a barbed T, or just a barbed fitting. Screw that in. That way everything's airtight. You're not leaking sewer gas out. And then that way, if it does blow off, it just blows into the sewer, and you have time to hear it and figure out if you need a new hot water heater or not. So so that's what I actually did on that other sink, and it was fine. And I've got to go back and do that on the kitchen sink because I haven't done that yet, and then I'll have to do on this one. So pretty easy process, kind of once you get it down. I think the first one, honestly, I spent like 5 hours on trying to get all the bugs worked out, and then now it's taking about a half hour. And so it's a pretty cool idea. Now I've got two sinks in here. I do not have a electric feed in the bottom of this sink. Eventually I'll probably pull one off this fitting right here and run it down in there, but I'm just going to go with right now. That gives me 2 sinks that have hot water, and then everything else is basically just waiting on the hot water to get here, unfortunately, unless you want to put one of those recirculating pumps in here, which I could. I mean, I could actually add a recirculating pump over here as well. And so I could have both going if I wanted to. I'm not living here, so I don't really anticipate to be losing that much water, but I wanted to kind of get it to where I'm losing minimal water until we do something else. So anyways, just give you a heads up. I hope that helps you with installing one of these and circumvents you having all the issues that I had. So it'll go easily for you. All right, guys. If you like this, like, and you got any questions, holler at me. Thanks. Bye now.